presenter with me, Maria Shakil. The manhunt continues for Khalistani preacher and Waris Punjab Day chief Amritpal Singh. Police have arrested 114 suspects and multiple aides of the Khalistani preacher, including his uncle, as well as cars, arms and ammunition linked to Amritpal's nexus. The Aam Aadmi Party government has made it clear that there is no tolerance for anti-national activities in Punjab, adding that Amritpal will be brought to justice. However, this fire is spreading to other parts of the world as well. The Indian High Commission in London was attacked by Amritpal Singh's supporters, who desecrated the national flag and tried to barge into the building. The window panes of the Indian High Commission were smashed as the mob carried placards demanding justice for Amritpal Singh. This triggered protests by the Sikh community outside the United Kingdom High Commission in Delhi against the desecration of the Indian flag. But in Australia, which has seen multiple attacks on Hindu temples by Khalistani radicals, supporters of Amritpal Singh gathered at the Australian Parliament in Canberra to protest against the Punjab police's crackdown. Even in the United States, Khalistani radicals attacked the Indian consulate in San Francisco. Clearly, this radical nexus has spread its tentacles around the globe. Given the international reach of Khalistani radicals and the attacks on Indian envoys, expats and temples, is it time to include the Khalistan threat in India's global campaign against terrorism? That is the question I'm going to take to all the panelists who will be joining me in just a bit. But first, let me go straight to London to get a quick update from Sanjay Suri. Sanjay, what is the situation right now on ground?
Well, the situation on the ground is that, as you described, there are groups that are active everywhere. But consider this in some perspective, Maria. We had about 15 or 20 Khalistanis outside the Indian High Commission, and they attacked this building at will. They smashed windows panes, they hurled stones at the building, smashing all the window panes on the facade. One of them climbed onto the balcony and pulled down the Indian flag. He did this at leisure. There was no security. The question is, there are these, say, 15, 20 people who turn up, but what gives them the confidence to do all this? It really is the inaction of the police. There was no police security, and it was worse than that. When they were there, the police did come, but just 3 or 4 of them on motorcycles. They had a conversation with these people. They were clearly vandals. The evidence of vandalism was before the police, and the police made no arrest. They did not even stop them leaving. These people, in the presence of the police, having done all they did, and the police having seen all that they saw and all that these people did, the police just watched them walk away. Okay, go away, have a nice day. It's only later in the day that one arrest was said to have been made. The police clearly wanted to show they had done something. So these people really are being encouraged by a very unprofessional inaction from the police.
You know, you are saying that there has been inaction on part of the police. Has the Indian government or the Ministry of External Affairs registered a formal protest, in the sense that, you know, whatever said and done, the police security has to be provided by the local government there? So in this case, it is the London police which has to ensure safety and security of the building and other structures that are, including the Indian consulate.
Yes, and there are two aspects to this, and certainly the Indian government has made a very strong communication to the British authorities. The two aspects to this is prevention in the first instance, failing that, prosecution. Prevention clearly failed. Prosecution has always failed in such cases. This is what has emboldened these groups to attack at will and just walk away in the sight of the police. And the police here have had a good look at these people. They were face to face with them for a long stretch. They know who these people are, and yet none of them was stopped. So this is really something that the Indian government is now addressing. The Indian government's communication to the British has been to demand prosecution of every single person who was present there, and the police cannot say they do not know who was present. They were face to face with them, and for a long stretch. The Indian government has made this demand. Let's see if the British listen and respond.
All right, Sanjay Suri, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for that quick update. Let me bring in my guests. Anil Trigunayat is former diplomat. Sushant Sareen, senior fellow of ORF. Major General retired KK Sinha is defence analyst. We also have Kuldeep Singh Shekhawat, director MATV from London. Sushant Sareen, a major security threat has re-emerged in Punjab. Is tough action falling prey to the politics of jurisdiction?
No, I don't know what you mean by politics of jurisdiction. If you mean within India, I think we can very clearly see that the center and state are cooperating with each other. It's inconceivable that this kind of a crackdown could have happened if the central government and the state government were not working together. They might not be openly declaring it or proclaiming it, but clearly they're working together. So I don't think the jurisdiction factor works out here. I think abroad it's a little more troublesome. To my mind, the British government has been complicit, and I use the word advisedly, with what has been happening. This is not the first time an Indian mission has been attacked. This is the third or the fourth time this has happened. We've seen attacks, in for example, in Leicester, Pakistani mobs attacking Hindu temples. We've seen homes being attacked. We've seen all kinds of violence being perpetrated, and the police just standing by, dumb, mute, utterly ineffective. And obviously, most of these guys have got a license. They've got a license to do this. Now, let's imagine what, if, for example, what happened yesterday. Many of these guys are criminals, right? These Khalistanis. What if one of these guys had a gun or a bomb and he clambered on top and he blew himself or blew somebody or killed somebody? Who would have been responsible then? And the action which the British claim to have taken is nothing but an eyewash. This is the kind of nonsensical action that the Pakistanis take whenever something, whenever they carry out a terrorist attack against India. This is the kind of action the Pakistanis take. Let me just tell you something, Maria, and I say this with all the seriousness. Britain has become today a safe haven for terrorists, anti-India terrorists, whether Kashmiri, Pakistani, or these Khalistani elements. And the British government has pandered to them, has pampered them, has turned a blind eye to their action, despite the Indian government telling them time and time again to crack down on these elements. Now, you can't tell me that you are protecting the civil liberties of somebody and you are endangering my people. You are endangering my people, you are endangering my property. I'm sorry, that is not protecting civil liberties. I don't need lectures of democracy and civil liberties from the British, who have been responsible for some of the worst mass murders in history.
Yes.
So let them stuff that up wherever they want to. But the bottom line is that they need to act. And most importantly, Maria, I don't think it's enough for the government of India to simply issue these demarches and these protests. I think there are certain consequences that must visit
But how do you make them act? Ambassador Trigunayat, how do you make them act? The question is that these incidents are happening in another country. How can the government ensure action in terms of what Sanjay Suri was saying, that the London police knows who these people are? They were, it was almost like attack at will kind of a situation there when it was unfolding. Will there be arrest? There has been only one arrest till now. And if there is an arrest, will there be prosecution?
Well, the problem is that the Britishers have failed time and again to protect the Indian mission. Earlier, last February also, we had some Pakistani elements going about the Kashmir, and they also incident in front of the High Commission. Even at that time, we had taken, and as Sushant said, that demarche is made. It is the responsibility of the state to which a mission is accredited to look after the mission, which is the property, or which is India. Actually, not only property of India, it is India. And the diplomats are there. Their security is the responsibility of the host state, and in which the Britishers have repeatedly failed. So I quite agree with Sushant that, and I should not be saying that, but I think that it smacks of complicity on their part.
But Ambassador
they have
Trigunayat,
always believed in
the
this.
attacks have happened in Canada, United States, and of course in Britain as well. What explains the soft approach towards Khalistanis in the West?
Well, I think that this is a kind of a tool for them, which they can use to flag against India. As simple as that. I mean, that's something that they've been doing. Very often they don't like India's stance on many issues. important issues. They are probably a bit miffed at the way India is trying to project itself in G20 emerging. We have recently gone ahead the British in terms of the economic heft. So I think that those could be some of the reasons. But the fact that in front of any diplomatic mission,
Yes.
if there is a protest, there is a procession going, permission is granted. And there is always a police bandobast which is there in every country of the world. There could be incidents, but still, very often, firstly, you are not permitted within a certain range.
Yes.
And as you know, the Indian High Commission is located on that main road itself.
Yes.
And so, even if there are, you can always block half the road and not allow people to come. There were no police personnel. And even if there are, they were the onlookers. And they cannot say today that they can't identify people because the whole world is showing them on the media. You are showing yourself who are these people. So it is not something. But they are harbored there in all these Western countries. So I think, that appears to be some kind of a design. It's happening in Canada, it's happening in the US, it's happening in the in UK, of course, much greater
Since you're
extent in
talking about a
Australia,
larger
very
design,
recently.
and we have seen a series of events that has happened. Mr. Shekhawat, I'm going to come to you. Help us understand if the Indian flag, the tricolour is brought down and the Khalistani flag is put there, that is certainly insulting the entire India. And what is the protest that is being registered here? I mean, who are these people who can just come and do such a thing and there'll be no action? Because the point being made by both Sushant Sareen and Ambassador Trigunayat here is that the British police and the government seems to be complicit here.
So true. Both have given an excellent account of the situation here. British police was informed a day before by the High Commission team that there could be trouble here tomorrow, so be prepared. There was no reaction. No police in the morning. There was nobody looking at them. So you can understand how the British establishment works. Now, when the situation has come to a boil, the mayor is saying, I have nothing to do with this. I'm sorry about it. This incident is not good to have happened. But yeah, police to the diplomatic missions is the responsibility of the Home Office. Now, Home Minister, or you can say Home Secretary of UK, she's away in Rwanda. She's supposed to come back. But does it take away one fact that the High Commission of India was vandalized? This is an attack on the sovereignty of a nation which is a sovereign country of 1.32 billion people. And this is an attack, unwarranted attack, which is not required to behave like this on a High Commission. Why and how people, some miscreants, out of them, some of them were students, were able to climb onto the wall of the High Commission, pull down Indian flag. I'm sorry to say this is not acceptable to the Indian community and Indian diaspora here as well. So now the diaspora is taking things in their own hands. They are going to speak to the Home Secretary. They are going to speak to a lot of people. Things are being mobilized in this country, and people of Indian origin are really, really outraged at what has really happened in UK.
Okay. General Sinha, is it fair to say that Khalistan radicals thrive in the West because they command money and sympathy from the ruling establishments there? They see this some kind of fight for justice, kind of an activism.
Maria, good evening and Jai Hind. What we have brought out, exactly, it is, exactly, Maria, it is because of that strength, these people are thriving about there. We have to understand the complete Khalistan movement when it started, whether it is Khalistan 3.0, it is Khalistan 2.0, which is, point we have to analyze. When the Khalistan movement started in India, we all know Bhindranwala, was, and after that, what happened? Seek for justice and see the timing. If you see the timing and see the timing now, it started Seek for Justice, when, came up. It is something like War is Punjab, it is more or less same. Names are different. And the timings you have just read, that was just before the election of 2014. It came and they say referendum, and it is basically in a domain in which it says social media domain and nothing will happen. But the traction it got not only in Canada, not only in the United States of America, San Francisco, it went to Germany, Australia, UK. These are the things what we see. The only thing, the signs coming up just this incident, what happened in the UK, we all know, because these people are, willy-nilly, they are in that side of that. And of course, Pakistan, ISI, when they run it, and they have got a money for that to do it. And the people are funding it. Now, what is more important? Just see, it started not now. When the Khalistani rally started all over India, and we have given the chance. We have given the chance to all this thing to come up. Referendum 2020 was totally defeated. Totally defeated. Now, Deep Sandhu has come up. Amritpal come and go. In between Tofan names and all this. I'm not talking about Pannu and all those things. Those are, it's gone. But you'll find that the people have found their places in the parliament. They have found the places in Canada. There are many people who are the sympathizers of this. They are on the, seat of power. In UK, they are. Today, what we have seen in what happened in London, maybe 20 odd guys doing it. It may be a symbolic, but the traction it has getting it. What is happening when the Prime Minister has to speak to the Prime Minister of Australia, when the things are happening on those temples, all of a sudden you will find a writing. And it started, the second phase in my judgment, when we carry out and we are as a student of this thing, what is happening in there, it started when the Kartarpur, was there, and Sidhu was, Sidhu, who was there, and that time Jan Bajwa and all those things, Gopal Singh Chawla and all those things come. It is the continuity of that. We have to understand. Okay. Elections are coming in 24, and now it is getting traction. Why we have delayed? Just tell me, Ajnala didn't happen yesterday. Ajnala, incident happened on 23rd of February 2023. You asked a very deep question. It is a politics of jurisdictions. Yes. These politics of jurisdictions should not take on. It doesn't take a month to capture. And when this chap is now at large, I can tell you, I have operated during the Blue Stars and all those things in Punjab. I know they can catch if they really want to do it. He can't run away like this. You have to make people accountable for this.
Okay.
Otherwise,
since you're talking about accountability, one thing is clear, Sushant Sareen, and the point that has been made by just about every panelist here is that such elements do not thrive without political connivance. And are we seeing the consequences of that both in Punjab and also abroad today?
Absolutely, Maria. This thing did not start last month or the month before or 6 months back. This thing can be traced back to around 2003, 2004, when for the first time the SGPC, for example, allowed posters of Bhindranwale to be put up in Gurdwaras around Punjab. The SGPC has played an extremely dubious role. And with the SGPC, the Akali Dal, the Badals, and of course the BJP, which kept quiet when they were doing this entire thing, when they were raising issues of emotion, emotional issues like these terrorists who have been imprisoned, who have been sentenced, raising their issues by the Akalis and others. The BJP kept quiet. They just played along. They strung, they just went along with these guys. I don't think they should have done that. And, this thing has kind of snowballed from there on. And every other government connived with it. Every other government kind of sidestepped it, played it down, brushed it aside, brushed it under the carpet. And today you are paying the consequences of those actions are visiting us. As far as the Brits are concerned, what Sanjay Suri was saying, that the police claim that, they will not be able to secure convictions. Please remember, this is the same police when they went after the rioters in the London riots. They were able to secure convictions of virtually each and every person.
That's right.
And are you trying to tell me that now they cannot secure the conviction of these 15 or 20 gundas, Khalistani gundas out there? Is that what the British police are trying to tell us? This is very clear connivance because, you have the mayor of London, for example, who's a Pakistani, right? You have the London police, which has, and the British establishment, which has had a very dubious role to play, not just now, even in the 80s, they played an extremely dubious role. We have had a diplomat of ours murdered in Britain, and the British, in a sense, kind of looked the other way, even at that point of time. they keep telling us that we are going to do everything, we are going to give you security. They don't give security, despite the fact that 2 or 3 incidents have happened earlier. They have not given any security. What explains this if not connivance and complicity with these elements?
Okay, then Ambassador Trigunath, what diplomatic levers can India use to make the point that Khalistani radicals are a clear and present threat, not just to all the Indian citizens, but all to citizens of the world?
Well, I think that this has been communicated effectively, but the governments in the Western countries have not taken any cognizance. It was much worse in Canada at the time and USA. We know that they are being supported financially and otherwise by these countries. So that's why there's a complicity. I think the action, apart from the formal this thing that has been done to the acting High Commissioner today, can perhaps, if I were to advise the government, I would say that we can perhaps recall our ambassador at the moment. This is essentially a matter of security for both national security and the diplomatic security. So in that sense, that is something till they show that such things will not happen and they will take credible action against these kind of elements, separatist elements in their countries. If they consider India as a strategic partner, historic civilization, whatever it is, so I think they need to come clean on this.
And would you say that the West perhaps is ignoring what clearly is a ticking time bomb?
Well, for them, yes, they will eventually pay for it. It is not something terrorism anywhere you allow. Separatists, they are going to bite you back. Pakistan is a clear example of that.
Okay. Kuldeep Singh Shekhawat, no matter the security threat these radicals pose, do they take advantage of the legal cover in the West, which allows them to perhaps, come out with this kind of hatred without immunity? Mr. Shekhawat, if you can hear me. Okay. General K.K. Sinha, would you take that question, please?
Yeah, see, Maria, we have to understand, to defeat this type of design, basically the people of Punjab, and especially the people who are actually literate, they have defeated earlier up till now. When they started, somewhere in 83, 84, we have seen, and even today. See, what is there? These people are basically, even you take this case, Amritpal Singh, he came from Dubai, he was a family business over there of transport, and he has come, his 10th class pass. This type of people are doing it and they get a traction in Punjab because these are the gangster. Still is a gangster war. It is which is going on, which has got a drug link, which has got. Until unless you come with a heavy hand, with a zero tolerance, it is not only by saying, and mind you, just can be defeated this way. Like in Canada, when, Trudeau came here, along with, the Khalistani, when he visited India, that time he came, but he was given a befitting reply. The way he was treated over there, he has gone over there. Again, he did it. After that, he did it when the, farmers' agitation was there. That time, but the same agitation, when it started a farmer agitation in Canada, he was nowhere. Mind you, outside, they will keep doing it because not as an anti-India, propaganda, but this is their design. And that is the Western design, but you see, it is an Anglo-sanctioned design on which they want to, they take you still as a third world country. They want to, still want to do rule and would try to dictate terms.
But General Sinha, help us understand. The fact is that Amritpal evaded arrest in Punjab for way too long. What are the loopholes in the security infrastructure that are allowing him to stay at large?
Mind you, there are people, there are many people who are there in political circle. There are people who are in the, in their police establishment. They have got a sympathy towards that also a little bit. But majority of people of Punjab is totally against it. I am from Sikh regiment. I know my, people of Punjab like my finger, everything. They have defeated it. When the Bhindarwala was defeated, it was not defeated by anyone else. It was defeated by the people of Punjab, and they have done it. But now, even the diaspora which are outside, majority is, are not with them. And Sikh, they have got a very large number of, diaspora outside. In Australia, I have been speaking to my friends over there who are, Sikhs. They're totally against it. they are the people who are protecting. But in London, I'm sorry to say, where are those people who has to come out? Of course, the 20 guys, if they can, gather at one place without a notice all of a sudden, where are the people? Where is our diaspora? We can't just leave it everything to be done by,
Okay, Kuldeep Singh Shekhawat, where is our diaspora and how are such radicals able to raise funds in Western nations when it is a fact that such funds are used for anti-India operations?
Two things here. First of all, about diaspora. Indian diaspora is active. Just we had a discussion today in the morning that, well, there are majority of the Sikh community people who are pro-India, and we cannot just finger out all of them as Khalistanis or terrorists. So we have to very delicately look at situation in UK. Who are these elements? We have to segregate them, and then we will have to go after them. That's one part of the story. When you come to the finance part of the story, well, we know who's funding all these people. It is Pakistan, and there is a proxy country we know about, a very strong country with a good economy is supporting Pakistan and the Khalistani elements now, which is a news for most of us. But yes, they are being supported by them, and it's a very open statement that these people are being funded, and only those people who are being funded are the ones who are miscreants. They are the ones like Paramjit Singh Pomma and all. They are the only ones who are creating trouble in UK. Majority of them are not at all anti-India. They don't have a Khalistani aspiration. They don't want Khalistan at all. We know most of the Gurdwaras here in UK are now bending towards the government of India by what Prime Minister Modi has done. You can really look at the situation in UK, whereas one of the biggest Gurdwaras in UK, the Southall Gurdwara, came out with a statement in favor of what Prime Minister Modi has done for them.
Okay, but
so
Ambassador
Singh,
help us understand. The fact is that Khalistan referendums are allowed in the West. Does the West see it as a just cause?
As I said that, they think that they are their citizens and they are entitled to these kind of statements because it's not directly impacting on them in their own domestic situation. That's how they are looking at it probably. But they're also using it as a tool. And that's why there's a connivance, basically, to undermine the political system in India. I would say that is the only objective that they have. Otherwise, if you consider the UK or Canada or US or Australia, if they consider this kind of a relationship that claim to be, then obviously you need to take action. Just by saying that we condemn this act does not happen, because it's every time we are seeing repeated acts of these kind are happening. So therefore, a stern message from India is also essential in this, because India is not a banana republic.
Sushant Sareen, final word to you. Going slow on anti-India elements, can we see this almost like some kind of tacit norm in Western foreign policy ahead of the G20 summit? Is this, constantly making India, it's about sending a message to India? There are a series of narrative building that has happened.
Look, I think what is happening in the other countries, we need to distinguish each one separately. For example, Canada and the UK are behaving with terrorists, what Pakistan did, the way Pakistan protected the Taliban. These guys are protecting Khalistanis and other terrorists, who are targeting India. Very clearly, I want to mince no words about it, right? They have given sanctuary to so many terrorists of Indian origin in their countries, and they have let them operate out there, even though they know what kind of murder and mayhem some of these guys have carried out in India. That is what they've done. Just what Pakistanis did in Afghanistan with the Taliban. Number one. Number two, I think the Indian reaction has to be a lot more severe than simply, recalling the ambassador and, the normal diplomatic stuff. I think we really need to start taking some other action which hurts the Brits, which hurts other countries, which do not respect the security of our people in their countries. Number three, I don't agree with Mr. Shekhawat entirely. Look, segregating these terrorists is not such a big deal. After all, you have a mission out there. You have cameras. Everybody has a phone camera. You can get mugshots of all these guys. You can identify them. You can have a database of these guys. You can pass the database off in the community. The community can identify some of these people. You can openly declare that you are going to be taking certain actions against these guys, not just in Britain or in Canada, but including in India. If, for example, they have some properties out here, you could impound them. There are hundreds of things you can do if you want to do those. If you don't want to do those and you just want to play letter and demarche, then you can continue playing that game. It's not really going to work very well. And finally, I think there is a conspiracy angle also with the frequency these incidents are happening in the UK. The moment you get an Indian origin prime minister in the UK, I think the British establishment cannot countenance it. And they will ensure that they embarrass the Prime Minister of Britain. They will activate some of these groups to target Indian targets, so that if the Prime Minister was to start coming down hard on these elements, then he would be accused of dancing to India's tune. And if he doesn't do it, the relations with India go sour. So I would not put it past some of these perfidious Albions to be indulging in these kind of games as well. They are quite capable of it. We've dealt with the British for 200 years. We know what all the games these guys play.
All right. Sushant Sareen, Ambassador Trigunayath, Major General K.K. Sinha and Kuldeep Singh Shekhawat, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. A piece of breaking news coming in now. The government has recommended CBI inquiry into Harsh Mandar's NGO over foreign funding. Mandar was a former member of the National Advisory Council as well. Arunima is joining me on the phone line. So, Arunima, what exactly is the CBI inquiry? Harsh Mandar's NGO, remember, has been on the government radar. They were looking at the entire foreign funding angle. In fact, it was being seen as one of the beneficiaries of those who have been trying to really send a message which was seen as anti-India. Arunima, give us the details.
So, all that we know is that an FCRA probe was initiated. Violations were found in that, and those violations were found to the extent that, unlike other NGOs, where the FCRA license is usually suspended or kept in abeyance, in this case, a CBI probe has been recommended. So the charge against the NGO is that you're not just misappropriating the foreign funding, you're also using the foreign funding in a way that it makes for a case under the Prevention of Corruption Act. Now, we've asked in Central Bureau of Investigation, what is the process from here on? Will they register a PE first or straight away go for an FIR? They say they're waiting for formal communication from the central government. But since the MHA at the highest level has recommended an FIR, I think that's the way it will go. And this is the second time Harsh Mandar's NGOs are getting into the crosshairs of agencies. If you recall, in September 2021, there were enforcement directorate raids on his NGO, 2 shelter homes for boys and girls in South Delhi. And the allegation there was of money laundering.
All right, Arunima, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Shifting focus to the new emerging axis between Russia and